Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everyone? It's Geoff Mosher and Adam Caplan here for our not final. We will have another one, but getting close to last film review of the regular season. The Eagles, of course, clinched a postseason with their 20-16 win over Washington on Sunday, and then the Vikings went and completely fell all over themselves as we expected them to. Right, which actually wound up clinching it for the Eagles. And then, of course, they've got a matchup Saturday night against the Dallas Cowboys that lacks a little bit of juice as we sit here right now, Adam, only because it's very likely to be a bunch of reserves, versus a bunch of reserves. So I guess like the Eagle Cowboy fan gets to fight over whose second string is better. I mean, you know they're going to find something to brawl over, I'm sure. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to still be Eagles-Dallas week in some way.
It is. I mean, look, Eagle fans, look, I grew up here, okay? I still, as a reporter and putting my analyst hat on, to put it all aside, I hate the star, all it represents. I just can't stand the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like me growing up here. I'm still a diehard Sixer fan, so I hated the Celtics growing up. I don't have quite the hatred that I had for the Celtics earlier because there's no rivalry, or there is a little bit, very little. When I grew up, it was Eagles Cowboys. It wasn't even close. The number one, very close second, and depending what year it was, it could be Sixers Celtics. Don't even get me started on that. And then Flyers. I was a Caps fan, believe it or not, growing up. But I guess, yeah, I know. I guess for the Flyers would be Rangers maybe. Depending on
Penguins. No,
Penguins could be.
That's the rivalry.
Well, right, but depending again on what division they were in or what year, whatever. But there was nothing like it. Whether it was Barry Switzer, Jimmy Johnson, obviously the great Tom Landry, whoever it was.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, yeah, you're right. I mean, it doesn't. It's too bad. I kind of wish it had. I wish there were something on the line. Now I knew it's funny. You would tip me off Sunday night. The game might be moved because I guess NFL.com, before anything was announced, I guess they put it on the schedule.
Yeah.
You saw something, right?
Yeah, I didn't even realize it until I think they discussed it at some point during the 4:00 game. That's what I forget who was playing at 4:00 that I was watching that they showed that. I think it was the Dallas game. Actually, weren't they playing the Cardinals at 4:00? I think that was the national Fox game, and they made reference that there were going to be these two Saturday night games, and that were yet to be announced. And honestly, I felt ashamed. We immerse ourselves in stuff. It's our job. We're reporters, and I'm like, I think this is the first I've heard of that. So I had no idea.
Yeah, I mean,
and then it took me like 3 different like proofs to show you to get you to believe me.
I was just kind of like, wait a minute, really? Look, I knew a couple months ago that they were going to do the Monday night wildcard game because they announced it months ago. I just had to remind myself, okay, if the Eagles make it that far, and here we are, they're going to be in the wildcard round. I'll be interested to see which game they get because the Monday night wildcard round are ESPN, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But nevertheless, it's kind of weird. It's like a Saturday night in January, this week. And the game doesn't really mean much. Could they get the 6th seed? Yes. It's still going to be either the Rams or Buccaneers. Everybody wants to debate, and we have, and Talk Radio and the Fanatic, which by the way, you could hear our show, which we did Tuesday. It was fun. Great calls, man. The calls were fantastic. And it's on their app or their website. We discussed it. We discussed it briefly, which game would be better. You could debate. No one wants to play against Brady anytime. I don't care who he's got to throw to. As you pointed out to me, who knew about Cyril Grayson before that game,
My new favorite wide receiver.
Right. Who had a great game because of Brady. I mean, the greats of the game make guys you've never heard of better. But then, Stafford has not played well lately, folks. I don't know if you watch him. He's really not playing great. He's turning the ball over way too much. But you don't want to face him. On the road, the Eagles now, by the way, before we get started here, will be playing their first road game where they have to fly in nearly 2 months. By the time they fly, it'll be about 2 months. The last time they flew was on Saturday, November 13th for their game against Denver. So this is it's interesting. Everything sets up. But for this game, we'll see. We're going to see a lot of backups. That's an absolute guarantee. How much they play remains to be seen.
The backup bowl is what we'll call it
It could
between the
be.
Eagles and Cowboys.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, we will have our pregame show. It'll be, even though the game's on Saturday night, we're going to keep it 10 a.m. till noon. We love that time slot. So we'll just be there at Saturdays in our normal spot. So you can catch us. It'll be the entire cast, myself, Adam, Jason Avant, Greg Cosell. And of course, you'll be able to watch it on our Twitter account, Facebook page, or YouTube Live. And the replays are always going to be available on those social platforms right away if you want to catch them immediately. Make sure you're checking out InsideTheBirds.com for the latest content. We've had stuff up. Adam has his power rankings up. I debated him a little bit on it, which is always fun. Andrew DeCecco will have some stuff up, scouting report, looking into the opponent later in the week. We've had some, breaking news, everything all up on InsideTheBirds.com. So make sure you're getting your free subscription to it. Your RSS feed goes to it, and you get all of your daily content from InsideTheBirds.com. And want to thank everybody. We continue to get more 5-star reviews on Apple with questions being asked. So we have done a recent Ask ITB. We're going to do another Ask ITB fairly soon. So we will continue to answer your questions if you give us the 5-star review on Apple. And even if you don't ask a question and just leave us a review, we thank you for that anyway. So
one thing,
go ahead.
One thing. Just want to add this. So what you can do, if you're going to listen to our replay, let's say you're someone who's on the West Coast, you don't want to get up that early to watch our show on Saturday morning. You could, and let's say you're going out to get some breakfast or something, you're going out, you could always listen in your car via Bluetooth, via YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter immediately, right after the show's over. Or even if you want to listen to it live, you can listen via Bluetooth. I do that all the time with podcasts. So yeah, it's just another way you could consume our show. And it works just right in your car, right on your speaker. It's something I've done for months. I enjoy doing that.
Hey, look, there's endless ways to consume ITB content. We just give you all the platforms and the opportunities for you to be able to do it.
Oh, we're on Amazon. We're on the Amazon Music. Yes, thank you. Yes. So we're on I can't believe we haven't mentioned that much. Yeah, a couple people let us know on Twitter they listen to us on there. I totally forgot we're on there. There you go.
Awesome. So again, endless ways to get the ITB content that you're looking for. Q&A will be out Thursday morning. You're going to love it. They had Quentin Michael has a Cowboys fan who's kind of a smart guy, a little wisecracker. And they brought him on to kind of grill him about being a Cowboys fan for the first 10 to 12 minutes of the show. And this guy liked to needle him back. So there was a fun little exchange there. So make sure you check out the latest Q&A to let them you'll hear them take on the Cowboys fan. And then, of course, they get into the Eagles making the playoffs and what they envision, what they see, what they've seen over the last 7 weeks and the Washington game. A lot of really good stuff in the latest Q&A that will drop Thursday morning, 6 a.m. We already told you there's so many ways to consume the Inside the Birds content, so many platforms. There's also so many great things, Adam. You hear me talk about it all the time. So many wonderful things you can get on Deal Dash, the online shopping platform that is actually fun. It's the longest running penny auction website and app around. And I mean, people are probably tired of hearing me talk about all the great things that you can get on this platform, but you shouldn't be, because right now is a great time to wind up getting new things at discount prices. We're talking about cars that go for less than $900, TVs, brand new TVs, less than $2. So don't be a loser. Stop paying full retail price for things you want and get on Deal Dash. Go to DealDash.com or download the app. And when you register, enter the promo code ITB for a special offer for some bonus free bids. Adam, there were some transactions we're going to get to, and I don't even know if I get to all these COVID-19 list transactions, we may have to end the podcast because the sun might be coming up.
Oh my goodness, the conspiracy theories that are out there, and some of them might be right. Who the hell knows? But it's just funny. It's just funny. We'll get into that. Yeah, I just when you called me Monday, you said, "Do you see the list?" I said, "Yeah." I'm like, "What the hell's going on with this thing?" Right. My first reaction was like, "This is ridiculous. There's just something that doesn't make any sense." Then I got the memo. I had the memo. Someone sent it to me. That the league sent to the teams that 3 weeks ago with 2 or 3 weeks ago with the revised protocols. I don't know, man, because this is not the Eagles are the only team to put a lot of key players on the COVID list at the same time. It's just crazy, right. But it is.
I mean, it's a. I'll just read the list really quickly. Jordan Howard, Boston Scott, Dallas Goedert, Jack Stoll, Jason Kelsey, Nate Herbig, Fletcher Cox, Alex Singleton, Jannard Avery, Avonte Maddox, Rodney McLeod, Marcus Epps. And that's just those who are on the list at the time of
Look
us
at that.
recording this, and a partridge and a pear tree. That's what it's basically. I mean, it's like the entire team.
Look at the order. Look at the order. I put it in positional order. So 2 running backs, 2 tight ends, two interior linemen, D tackle, 2 linebackers, a corner, 2 safeties. What is this, an all-star? What the hell?
5 offensive linemen, 4
right, exactly. Just like you said, a partridge in a pear. I mean, it's ridiculous. Right. I listen. I have no problem if you think there's something going on there. You could see our friend Dr. David Chow, his video. He's not making any accusations, folks. David called Doc.
Hypothesizing, right?
Yes, he called me Monday. He ran some stuff by me. We exchanged some information, some ideas. No, we're going to leave it at that. I don't want to make any accusations here. To be clear, I don't know anything. I'm not guessing. Yeah. But I find it awful coincidental that they went in this positional order. That's all I'm saying.
And then I agree. And I said to you, how is it that this Eagles team was so good compared to the rest of the league of avoiding outbreaks? Then they clinch. And then the next day, they literally have one of the biggest outbreaks in the league to the most prominent players. It's just, look, man, we could do 3 hours of conspiracy theories on this. I don't know. But the point is, a lot of these guys, because of the revised protocols, could be back within 2 or 3 days. So that would shatter some conspiracies that they purposely did it to miss the Saturday night game or whatever.
One day. They could be back in one day. Darnell Savage went on the COVID list of money for the Packers. He came off Tuesday. I mean, what the hell? Come on, man.
There you go. At this point, it's like, why even have a list? But, you know.
I don't know. There's teams are understanding these protocols. They're finding things. They're just – I found the whole thing interesting. And then they've got, the 90-day rule. They call it – in the memo, they call it the test holiday. Once I'm going to, as you talk, I'm going to find the language because the whole thing made me laugh as I read from the memo. I'm like, come on. So you guys are taking advantage of something here. Anyway.
Right. We'll see what happens. We'll see as the week develops whether these guys come off very quickly or if they're still on as the weekend goes, which would really cause even more conspiracy theories. But whatever you think, as long as everybody's okay, which you imagine
which is the most good point.
I think almost everybody on this list we already know of as being vaccinated. I mean, I can't speak for every single one, but the Eagles have one of the highest vaccination rates and booster rates in the NFL. So if that's the case, you can say that none of these guys should come down with it or go on this list anytime in the next 3 or 4 weeks again. And so they should all be available for at least the first round, the wild card game, and then of course the next game. Like their status should not be in doubt because of COVID-19. I would think because they're on it now. So go ahead.
Okay. Well, just finish. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
One question I was going to have, because they've already elevated on Tuesday. They elevated Cameron Malvo again and Jacoby Stevens as COVID-19 replacements, which I was confused why they're doing that on Tuesday.
Yes,
and not Saturday or Friday. I should mean. Nothing about this makes sense to me.
Well, the only thing I could think of, I mentioned this on one of the recent shows, that this is the poaching period, where teams, particularly teams that are out of the playoffs, they start poaching players off of the other team's practice squads for and then you play them in week 17 or 18. In this case, it would be 18. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's why they brought up Malvo, who I was told the tape is really intriguing. He's been with 6 teams, so there's obviously something wrong where he's not good enough. Mm-hmm. But his tape, I was told pretty firmly by multiple sources, pretty good. Like there's something there with him. Mm-hmm. There's a reason why. Okay, yeah, he's been with 6 teams, but teams keep liking him. And I know he's long, over 6'5", 270 plus, but there's something there. And Jacoby Stevens was a perfect guy to sign up for a practice squad because he's a 7th rounder who's a multiple position player, safety or linebacker. You take a look at him if you're a bad team that's not making the playoffs. Well, the Eagles avoided that. They brought him up. But I would tell you with this, I love this. Yeah, let me read you the language here. Let me find it again. I had it.
By the way, the Eagles also protected John Hightower, who came off the COVID list. They released the kicker, Matt McCrane, from the practice squad. Wouldn't be surprised if he was, again, re-signed because it is smart to carry a second kicker. And the kicker that they have, Jake Elliott, is not on this COVID list for now. So you hope that he doesn't get it and then have to be out for the game because it's later in the week. So I imagine Matt McCreary has a decent chance to be back unless they make it to Friday and there's no issues with Elliott and they want to take their chances. We'll see. So John Hightower is protected. The offensive tackle, Coyote Awosika, is protected. The cornerback, Mac McCain, and the safety, Jared Maiden. So basically all those guys have been protected a lot this year, so no surprising names there. But they did activate both John Hightower and Noah Togiai and cornerback Craig James from the practice squad COVID-19 list. So that's good for them.
All right, so we've heard through multiple sources that some of the players, we don't have a poll of all 12, but we know at least more than one player was asymptomatic.
Mm-hmm.
And we've known for a year and a half since the testing started, you could be asymptomatic and test positive. So
right.
I'm not reading into anything. I'm just telling you that the good things, some of these guys felt good. Okay, great.
Sure.
But the thing is here, so the other part of these new protocols is, yes, you could test out on Sunday morning. As I'm reading, like Travis Kelce did not a couple weeks ago. That's why he was not available. For those of you in fantasy football semifinals, you didn't have him. This past week you had him. But yeah, so yeah, you can, in the revised protocols, they're allowing teams to test these guys out. They could test out on Sunday morning, which is why sometimes they're available. And I'm looking, I cannot find because the 90-day rule, they call it a testing holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you test positive, then you test out. You don't have to be tested for 90 days unless you don't feel well, unless you ask to be tested.
So that goes to that point. All those players that we mentioned, once they come off, they are 90 days free of even being tested. So there's that carries you to the Super Bowl at that point. So you wouldn't have to worry.
Yeah,
for that big deep Eagles Super Bowl run,
right,
you won't have to worry.
Right, that's funny. Yeah, you never know. I had the Eagles 9-7 coming into 2017. Who the hell knows, man? You never know.
All right, Cowboys injuries, Adam. Ezekiel Elliott's been dealing with the knee for quite a while.
2 months. Yeah.
Tyron Smith, the left tackle, has been dealing. He's always dealing with something. He's got, I guess, an ankle, but he's off the injury report now. So maybe he's better.
It's been killing him. He's had this. He's been struggling with for several weeks. He's finally off of it for the first time in several weeks. And Jaron Kearse, who we're going to talk more about on Friday's show with a hamstring, he's revived his career. You might remember him if you follow Vikings.
One of the Vikings.
Yeah, tall guy he was kind of stiff because mostly tall guys don't run very well. They don't flip their hips, as
right.
My friend Bill Polian told us. That's why these guys don't often get drafted high, and they don't usually make it. But he's revived his career. He's got a role as a third safety, tight ends, and all that. He's done a good job, but he's got a hamstring injury, so we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Eagles, Hurts is still listed on the injury report with the ankle. Of course, Sanders with a broken hand. Quez Watkins with the knee issue. This is his second knee issue this season. It's minor, though. Mm-hmm. Lane Johnson with the knee, and Sean Bradley with the stinger. Remember now, if you're on the COVID list or on a reserve list, which is reserve COVID list, you're not on the injury report because you're not on the roster. So with Jordan Howard, we don't know how they would have listed him if he was on the roster. So we don't know if the sprained knee is still on there, and obviously the shoulder, which we'll get into the tape. We've got pretty good sourcing on what his tape looked like, but that would be it for the injury reports.
Now, there was one other player, though, that was on the injury report, and I said I want some, a little pat on the back I'm going to give myself. Because
my bad. Go ahead. Yeah.
That's okay. I said there was something strange about every time the camera panned on the offensive line, it looked like Landon Dickerson was either wincing or grimacing or just looking uncomfortable. And I said, I look forward to seeing the injury report this week to see if something happened to him that he was playing through. Lo and behold, he has a thumb injury that apparently was enough to put him on the injury report Tuesday as an estimation. If they had practiced, they did a walkthrough, that he would not have been able to practice. So that's something worth monitoring as the week goes on. Again, it kind of has extra time because who knows if he's going to even play Saturday against the Cowboys and what they're going to do. But as we talked about on Monday night, you can't rest all of your offensive and defensive linemen. You don't have so many backups at that position that you can just start all backups. It's difficult. You may have to play some quote unquote starters.
Yeah, I was going to add that. I remember asking coaches about this over the years. They always say to me like, "It's like, dude, we can't rest everybody. We don't have enough players.
Right.
Some of the starters are going to have to play." Now, what I find interesting, this is Sirianni's first year. He doesn't have any frame of reference. Obviously, he could talk to Frank Reich, who he's mentioned several times he talks to, is a big mentor of his.
Mm-hmm.
I remember asking Andy Reid this, obviously when he was with the Eagles. If you recall, his thing is he basically would never play players unless he had to. Now he's changed that philosophy with the Chiefs, but he told me it was always his job to get his players to the game. Like don't take any chances. Now you got a situation where this is a sort of a marginal playoff team. I don't think they could afford to rest everybody. I would like to see Jalen Hurts personally. If you and I were running the show, if we were having a personnel meeting, I think Hurts could use some work here. Although we'll get in the tape in a minute here. He really, don't let the stats fool you. He had a good game. He really threw the ball well.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's all about the tape. It's not about the numbers. It's always tape over supersedes numbers in every way, shape, or form. I just still think it would be nice to see them get their timing down and get the rhythm going here, but it's risk versus reward. I understand that from a coach standpoint. You just got to be careful.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. We'll see what Sirianni does. And, I found it interesting that, he had said on Monday he hadn't even talked to the coaches yet. We'll see what he wants. He said, well, I haven't talked it over yet. I'm sure I'll have to talk to the front office about it, what their thoughts are. But it's such a great problem to have if you're Nick Sirianni. We talk about not playing your players in week 18 for the first time ever, week 18.
Right.
And whether to play them in that because they're ready to clinch a playoff spot. Yeah, sure. I thought this was going to happen 2 months ago. I mean, it's so great. It's just because this is so unexpected. Like, it's just, you got to be, season ticket holders are listening. You got to feel proud about this because I'm sure if you're all willing to admit it, you weren't thinking this was a playoff team.
Yeah, no, that was our point of emphasis Tuesday night on the Fanatic, right? Where we said, hey, look, you don't know what's going to happen both in the playoffs, in the wild card round, or in the off season, right? Because one may determine the other. So it's been a great time for people who love the running game. So enjoy it, and I hope everybody has. And if you just keep it to that and be tunnel visioned about it, and don't let your mind wander off into maybe we'll be in the Super. Just enjoy each thing, and I think it'll be a better experience. Not for me to tell a fan how to think, but that's how I feel like the callers felt that we spoke to, and that was a good perspective to have.
Yeah, I think most of our listeners and viewers, we were on YouTube as well. I remember reading the comments on our Facebook board early in like the Atlanta game. I think we all, including myself, got a little bit carried away when you talked me off the ledge about thinking, should I reevaluate? And boy, you came at me hard when I said, wait a minute, should we reevaluate? You're going, no, do not reevaluate. I'm like, all right, I hear you. But it's funny as we fast forward three and a half months or so. The team's clearly better than I thought.
Mm-hmm.
What I think is the coaching staff, although I was pretty high on Sirianni and obviously also Gannon, I never changed my mind on Sirianni. I didn't. When they were 2-5, I never thought he was in over his head. I kind of, the flowering comment, I understood what he meant. I've been around coaches enough. I understand they're just trying to see the thing through. They have a foundation that they're going to go with.
Right.
And I forget which player talked about it, saying that he hadn't changed what he thought. I'm not sure if it was Kelsey, but one of the players said like he's been true to what he said.
Mm-hmm.
It's a growth period. You try to get that 1% better, which is such a coach speak, but
right,
just building on top of positivity and learning from your mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
The staff's done a really good job. A staff we didn't know a whole lot about other than from the coaches we've talked to, and to be in this spot is just remarkable. And it's. But as some of the callers, one of the callers had a great point on the Fanatic. Like, you're hoping that the personnel staff, the general manager, and the owner also, they understand who they are as a football team. This is not a great football team. They still have a lot of work to do. They've still 3 first-round picks. We'll see if they do it. Still have them by the time the draft happens. But it doesn't change the fact, and we'll get into, not this show, but after they're out of the playoffs, what their needs are and what they really have to do this offseason.
No doubt about it. All right, let's get into the film watch first. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code ITB. Bet just $5 on any football team, college or pro, and win $200 in free bets if that team wins. Remember, promo code ITB. this week at DraftKings Sportsbook. Got to be 21 or older, Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. In partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. And of course, if you want to get that advantage over DraftKings Sportsbook or any other sportsbook, you just download BetQL, the only app you'll need to make smart bets. They've got a best bet computer model that scans over 350,000 unique bets a year to give you a best bet recommendation for every game across all major sports and the reason why you should place the bet. Their model covers everything from spreads to over-unders, player prop bets. And if you don't want to use the model, if you're a type of person who just likes to do the research on your own, BetQL has the necessary tools for your research needs, from sharp data to line movement, team summaries, lineup and injury breaking news, even a leaderboards to track your success. So head to the App Store or the Google Play Store now to download BetQL. You can also go to the website try.betql.co/ITB and get started using the discount code ITB at payment checkout for 25% off their subscription offerings. They've also got this cool sportsbook offers page. If you live in one of the eligible states, you can claim a free offer upon signing up at one of the many sportsbooks listed. So don't miss out on the chance to beat your sportsbook this football season using BetQL. All right, we start off with the Eagles offense against Washington's defense, and it was a slow start again, which has been an issue for this offense, for this team over the last few weeks. As you mentioned, better, second half got better, but what kind of feedback did you get on the game Jalen Hurts had, which was different because the Eagles didn't run the ball as well as they ordinarily do?
He was really efficient and accurate. The first half, boy, this is how, I always say this. People are probably sick of hearing it for the 4 years we've done the show, but this is why if you're great off TV, you might as well throw the towel in because you just can't. I remember seeing the throw to Smith. It looked good, the catch and run for 30 yards. But, I was told by two people, like, this is one of his best throws of the year because he was under duress. He had the guy barreling down on him, right in his face, and he stood there in the face of pressure. Like Eli Manning, who might go to the Hall of Fame, didn't always do this. That was one big issue personnel people had with Eli Manning is he would turn his head a lot. Mm-hmm. Like Hurts didn't. He stood in there, and I wanted to see what I was told. I wanted to actually see it, and I watched it, and I was like, wow, that's an unbelievable throw. It wasn't his only throw under pressure, and what I liked is they did some under center.
Yep.
Obviously shotgun. I like how they mix it up. I really like what Steichen and Brian Johnson and Sirianni, obviously, of course, and Patullo got together here. A variety of ways. Hurts is willing to check it down, which Wentz wasn't, as we know, we outlined for many years, was not willing to do. Take the check down, the outlet. It's in, as Marty Morningweg said, it's in every NFL offense. It's there for you. It has to be built in there. If it's not, they don't know what the hell they're doing. But it is. And he took it for Boston Scott, and other times he looked for it. Again, it doesn't look like in the numbers. If you didn't know better, you go, oh, look, looked okay in numbers, or he didn't throw a touchdown pass. It has nothing to do with the way he played. Trust me. Did they bog down a little bit? Yeah, but he had a good game. He made some good throws under duress. We know the 22-yard run, the backbreaking run on that third down was incredible.
Yes,
so
it was.
really, and he's so strong. He's built. I know he's not the tallest guy in the world, but he's built low to the ground. And for a guy who I don't know that he runs, all that fast, but he's such a decisive downhill and great feet, and shifty. That's the other part of his running game, which is very underrated. And he was willing to stay in there and hang in the pocket. He only ran the ball. He ran the ball a decent amount of times, but first half. Look, he was 9-11 in the first half. He was very efficient. He was very accurate. They only scored 7 points, but it felt like he played better. It was the defense that completely let them down the first half.
Right.
But I everything I'd heard would indicate he played really well, accurate. Vision was good. And that's the other thing. And Sirianni, I think, was asked this in his press conference. It's 1,000% true. It's not just coach speak. He maintained his downfield focus. I was told, some of the best this season. Like they remember you had that really good nugget like 2 weeks ago about it was too much low to high for him, which means short to back. You're supposed to read back to front. Mm-hmm. Better back to front reading this game.
Good. Yeah. I I think even though as you just said, the stats are just kind of like okay. I think this is one of maybe a top 3 game for him. You know, the Denver game
This
was
year,
a
you
great
mean?
game. No, I mean since he's become the
Really?
Eagles quarterback, I think the Denver game was a great game. We've talked about the Arizona game last year, down 16-0.
That was
Just
yeah. That was a
making
really
great throws.
yep.
And I just really appreciated how in this game, when that he didn't have a great running game to bolster him,
Yes.
that he did sort of put the team on his back in that regard. They had to throw the ball 27 times. It's a little high for what they've been doing, and he did not put any balls in harm's way. No interceptions, no fumbles, and as you mentioned, and you can tell that he kept his eyes upfield even when he took off, and all of that was really positive. There are times even without the TV copy where you see something and you feel like, oh man, he's clearly not seeing that. Like 2 weeks ago when I know it's been argued and dissected. I'm not trying to put it on him. Just thought like Goddard in the end zone wide open, doesn't see it, right? You could see that watching. You saw that a couple weeks ago, Gainwell. Remember, he had a chance to hit Gainwell and then threw to a double covered Devontae Smith in the end zone. So you can see that while you're watching. I didn't feel like there were a bunch of times, if any, maybe I had 1 or 2 and we were watching the game together where we wondered, do you think he left something on the field there?
Exactly. I remember saying it to you.
Yeah, I mean, they only punted twice, I think. I know they had a turnover on downs.
Yes.
So, I mean, they were very efficient. It was an efficient game.
It really was.
That was largely because of him. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, it was. Look, he's not there yet where they need him to be. This is his first year as a full-time starter.
Right.
He got practical experience last year called all-the-job training. Of course, that was with a different staff. This is a new offense for him. This is another thing we should have mentioned more. It's a completely new offense for him. This is yet another offense in his football playing career.
Yeah.
So you have to. The good thing is he's getting better. It's far from perfect. Not that any quarterback's perfect. Every game he at least throws on the field. Most quarterbacks do, sometimes more than others. But you saw some really good things in this game. And then obviously the Greg Ward throw was, by the way, I don't know that he makes his throw earlier in the season because he was not maintaining his focus downfield. He was really bad in the first half of the season.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that was one of my favorite throws of the year.
Look at his eyes. Watch on the coaching tape. Watch his eyes. His eyes.
And then just have the composure also to flip the ball to Boston Scott while he's falling on his rear end.
Yeah, just look. I understand they're people on the opposite side of the tracks. They're the detractors and the supporters. I get it all. Jeff and I are down the middle. It doesn't matter to me. We're not fans. But our job is to be objective and go with what we know and what our eyes tell us and what people who know more than us tell us. And it was kind of fun to watch. I watched some of the coaching tape Tuesday. And then I had all the, a couple people, and I know you talked to people. It was kind of interesting because there's one guy in particular who's watched, because this guy does advance. He's his team already played the Eagles, but he did me a solid and he watched. He goes, look, I've watched almost all their games, and he thought Hurts was really maturing here. There's no way to from 1 to 10 scale, but he said he saw some good things in this game, and I'm like, good, okay. I said, your opinion matches what someone else told me. I'm like, all right. So it's always good to hear when. Always. Look, does everyone agree? No, they're not always going to agree. They could see the same tape, as our friend Greg Cosell would say. Reasonable minds could disagree. It's just you might not agree on it, but when it's on the coaching tape, it's a true serum, and it's pretty good.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the running backs because they clearly missed that. Not only that home run element that Miles Sanders brings.
100%.
And we talked about that in the pregame show, but they just, they really, not just the home run, but even the intermediary, the 8 to 9 to 10 to 11-yard run that Miles is able to get. And they missed that. Their running game was just not what it was. They grinded out some yards. Boston Scott did fine. He did okay. I forget what the final numbers were on him, like 47 yards, 14 carries. Some of that skewed by the short yardage stuff. But Jordan Howard, to me, and we said it last week, we reported that he had the stinger, but also an AC joint in his shoulder that was bothering him. They're likely connected. But you could tell, and then I chatted with you prior to this, so we've got it verified that he didn't run the way he normally did, and you have to attribute that to what he was dealing with.
So I was told by one person that he looked like he was tentative in the hall, going towards the hall. it's not speed through the hole, it's the speed, and it's not the speed to the hole, it's the speed through the hole. He just didn't look like his normal self. It wasn't just the TV copy that we all watched. He just didn't look right off coaching tape. So, first half, 3 carries for 0 yards. Now the nice thing is, to salt the game away, when they had to run the ball, they ran it effectively well late. When they had to. They did a good job there, but they're just a different team without Miles Sanders. They don't have the home run hitting ability. And the thing about Sanders is he gets those tough yards now, which he did not do in his first year. This is what separates him from his rookie season, where he's spectacular, to now that he's doing both. He's getting those hard yards, and as you made a great point, he gets the intermediate yards. He'll get the 5 to 7 to 9 yard runs, which Howard, when he's right, can do it 3 to 5, 5 to 7. Sanders will get 7 to 9. Scott, 3 to 5. He's got some intermediate juice too, but nothing like Sanders. They absolutely missed him in this game. There's no question they were not the same run game without him.
Yeah. And we'll see going forward how he and whether Miles can come back. He's not going to come back against Dallas, and iffy for the first round of the playoffs. And that's obviously been a huge, huge part of what they do. So it only complicates it if Jordan Howard isn't healthier by the next time they play a meaningful game. I thought we would see more Jalen Hurts designed runs, and I thought we would see more Kenneth Gainwell, but we really didn't. We saw, I think, maybe 1 or 2 designed runs from Hurts, if that, and then just what was it, 1 carry for Gainwell? What did he wind up getting? He got one carry for 4 yards.
Was it the Reds inside the 10-yard line run? Am I wrong on that? Yeah,
I think so.
Well, again, they almost every game, it's a 2-man backfield. They don't like 3, and I get it. I totally understand that. It went like we thought. We knew Scott was going to be the guy coming in. The only time he wasn't the guy when someone was out was when he was ill against the Jets, where he was only playing on an emergency basis. But he's a nice back. I mean, we were told pretty strongly that Howard was better than him in training camp, but this staff preferred Scott because of his versatility. But what's ironic is Howard's their best pass protector. That's the thing I find comical of the guys on the guys on the 53-man roster. But
right.
That would be it for the running game. That's kind of all we know.
Yeah, and again, we can talk about wide receivers and
yes,
pass
that'll be
catchers. Dallas Goedert gives you 70. Dallas Goedert gave you a Dallas Goedert type game. 6 catches, 71 yards, 7 targets, and I swear, ever since you said it, like 4 or 5 weeks ago, that Goedert really should be the guy who through the passing game goes through. It's been happening. I mean, he got more targets than anybody and more catches and therefore more yards.
Yeah, I like Avant's point on the pregame show a couple weeks ago, and Jason's pretty strong on it. If you want to be great, you got to do everything well. We know he blocks well. He's an excellent inline blocker. I remember Mike Rowe telling me, the former Eagles OC, when Goddard was a rookie, I ran into him at training camp, and he said immediately he was nosy. Like he wanted to do it. He wanted to block, and that was really good. Now we fast forward to 2021 season, and as Avant said, he said it repeatedly, you can't just be good most of the time. You got to be great. That includes catching the ball. Stop trying to run with it before you have it secured. And I'm glad Jason pointed that out, because it's true. He's a little shaky sometimes. As much as I'm a proponent of the guy, he's a superior athlete for the position. Cosell's loved him from day one. Greg said on SiriusXM Fantasy with John Hansen and I, he thought when he's at his best, he could be a top 5 tight end. That's pretty damn strong. But he's got to bring it. Yeah, he's got to bring it every week, and he's sometimes he's just a little off with the hands, and but he had a good game of route running. He had a couple shake moves which were really good. So Smith had the big play, too. When you combine the receivers and the tight ends. But man, here's a question for you. Let me throw it back at you here.
Okay.
Quez Watkins, they missed him down. They missed him. He was open. He didn't get the ball one time. But
right,
what do we do about Greg Ward here? Because he obviously had the scramble play, but the guy, I know he's had some bad drops, but the guy's been productive before. Should he be more involved?
Yes. We've been talking about this for quite a while, the need for somebody other than Devontae Smith to step up at wide receiver position. Greg Ward has had minimal opportunities, and he has had some drops in the end zone. So I'm not sitting here telling you he's like, the great possession receiver next to Devontae Smith. It's not the case, but I do find him to be the most reliable at the moment, and somebody that Jalen Hurts is comfortable throwing riskier passes to. The twisting, turning touchdown that he caught. Who was that against? The Giants at this point? I don't remember anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He caught that nice one in the corner of the end zone. That was a really good play. And the one that against on Sunday, if you remember, Jalen Hurts said he didn't get the play call in the headset. So he just basically improvised, and his improv led to him wanting to go to Greg Ward. So Greg Ward, for the most part, will catch the ball when you throw it to him. He's a veteran at this point compared to the rest of the receivers. And I think if you're on the road in a wild card game against a tough team and you need a guy to catch the ball, if Nick Sirianni and you're at 11 personnel, I think you got to think about putting him out there.
Plus, he's a former quarterback.
Right.
And a pretty good one in college. I mean, just in terms of numbers at University of Houston. Yeah. So he thinks like a quarterback. He came back to the ball. He knows how to do that.
Yep.
So overall, their pass targets did a nice job, but this is look, they're still committed to the run. I mean, they ran the ball a lot. They still wasn't like they didn't. I mean, Scott had 14 carries, Howard had 11. The running backs had 26 carries, a little bit lower volume because Sanders wasn't there. But they left some plays on the field. But overall, they did some good things at this game. And we'll get to the offensive line in a second. But Hurts definitely, again, it doesn't show in the numbers, but he certainly did some good things at this game.
Yeah, offensive line. You knew they had a pretty difficult matchup in general. I mean, they're down to the number 6 offensive guard with Nate Herbig, who had been hurt the prior game, came back in. I think he got hurt again, right? In Sua Opeta.
Oh, left ankle.
Got hurt again. And then obviously Landon Dickerson was dealing with something because you could tell, like, Washington's defensive line, which is good, by the way, especially on the inside with Payne and with Allen. There were times that the defensive line for Washington won. You could see that.
Oh, I was told they leveraged the interior of their offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
They got strength. They beat them. Yeah, they gave interior pressure. They got some good rushers. The overall, the Eagles' offensive line pass pro is pretty solid. You saw sometimes when Hurts had a long time to throw the football, but they gave up run pressures. Also, in terms of just getting in there and blowing plays up, yeah, they did. But again, you don't have Miles Sanders. That impacted it. I mean, I don't want to take much away here from Payne and Allen. Casey Tuhill started, former Eagle. And then remember that Washington plays a 5-man front. We talked about it in the pregame and in our show, our show that dropped Friday morning on previewing. They're a big 5-man front team. The Eagles beat the hell out of them in the game, the first game in Philly. But they had their way. They did a good job. I got to give Jack Del Rio credit. His front did a good job. They against the run. They really did.
Yeah, and I kind of had a feeling they would. Kind of the reason I thought it'd be a close game, and I picked Washington to win. I was wrong, but
almost right.
I had a feeling. I know. Oh, and that last pass
at halftime, you sure were. What's that?
I said that last pass. If Heineke doesn't sail it completely.
Oh, by the way, it was not what I thought. On TV, it looked like it was almost caught. There's no way Anthony Harris shielded the division of John Bates. There's just no way that's being completed. It was not what I thought.
Good.
I was told this, and I watched it Tuesday. There's no way that ball is being completed. It was not what I thought off of TV. It would have been, I don't want to say impossible. It would have been extremely difficult for that ball to be completed.
There you go. All right, that'll finish off the offense. We'll get into the defense next. Of course, we want to tell you to check out our friends at phlsportsnation.com, enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams for the fan, by the fan. That's their motto. Make sure you're checking them out at phlsportsnation.com and on Twitter at phlsportsnation. We'll pause real quick for a word from our other great sponsors, including our friends at Sky Motor Cars. And if you do go in out there to Westchester, PA, and visit our friends at Sky Motor Cars, make sure you tell them Adam and Geoff sent you. You will get a great deal. All right, let's start defensive line against this Washington offensive line that certainly had a bunch of backups playing key positions. But I said I thought Josh Sweat was the player of the game for the Eagles, Adam. I thought he was just a constant nuisance for Washington's line.
The thing that's impressive, I didn't think he was effective standing up in training camp when I was there. He was not effective earlier in the season standing up. Now, We pointed this out 2 or 3 times, and I'm going to keep saying it. And you mentioned this on the Fanatic. I don't know when this happened. I'd have to ask. A couple personnel guys mentioned this to me. I'd love to know which week they did it.
Mm-hmm.
They've been playing Josh Sweat occasionally in each game with the 9 technique, which means outside. Obviously Jim Schwartz style.
The wide 9. Right.
Right. So he is. I mean, it's not just with that. It's obviously helping them, but he's improved as a stand-up guy. I still hate when they call it a linebacker. It's so ridiculous. The guy's playing on the line, but he's standing up as technically a linebacker. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, he's not dropping back very much.
Right.
He's not a true linebacker.
Right. So he was dominant, and he played left and right defensive end this game. Cox played DN. I'm going to give Gannon credit. I've been very critical of him, but rave reviews from people I really respect from this game. He did so much different stuff. I know they don't blitz.
A lot of post snap, a lot of disguise and post snap movement.
You got it right from the people I spoke with. Yes, that's what they said. They did so much. He did the 34 front, 43, 34, 335, 524. He did so much different stuff. That's why Heineke in the second half, it started getting to him. The only thing that they crapped the bed in the first half, they gave so much space up. When they didn't get to the passer, that's when Heineke was shredding them in the first half. And like where you and I were like, we were watching the game together, doing our we did our game watch on Sunday, and we were like, what are they doing? Like what they're not only they're not getting any pressure, they're giving so much space up. And I know the players said when they were interviewed, they didn't really change much. And okay, they would know better than I, but their coverage was way stickier. They got better pressure. Their tackling was better because Jared Patterson. I love this kid. He's so much fun. What was happening is their linebackers were late, because they're deeper. They play deeper than they did under Schwartz, and they were late. They also missed some tackles, but they were way more disciplined in the second half, and their line dominated. I mean, Sweaty was incredible. 94 Sweat was awesome. Cox, I'm telling you, I don't know the guy, but he clearly is buying into this game because they're doing a lot of stuff with him. They're giving more chances to rush the passer, not just playing the 4-eye. Neither is Josh Sweat. Their stunts are great. As you said, their post-snap disguise is great, and they're disguising more, and it's really fun.
I think from a defensive line standpoint, I think the line games, the stunting, twisting, picking, all that stuff that we did not see a lot of first half, I think that's been a really big part of their second half resurgence. Yeah, I mean, along with going up against the quarterbacks that we've talked about. And some of the offensive lines have also been very, very banged up. We'll see against the playoffs how effective some of this stuff is. Tampa Bay's got a really good offensive line. Who else? Dallas, when healthy, good offensive line. I know Arizona's got a decent, not as good as Tampa Bay's. Rams have a pretty decent offensive line. So we'll see. But I think it was so vital that they did that because of the athletic guys that they have, with especially adding Milton Williams to the mix. Fletcher's always been a great athlete. Hargrave has good burst, so he doesn't have to necessarily be the looper. He can just create that initial surge, and somebody loops around to him. And same thing with Sweat. He just can come from the edge. It makes too much sense. I guess Jonathan Gannon just needed to be comfortable with them and figuring out who can do what to be able to pull off some of that stuff. I just thought we would see it a little bit earlier, but, we've said that about a lot of things with his defense.
Teron Jackson was in there. He didn't play. He only played 7 snaps, but he's getting better. Barnett.
A play where Patrick Johnson and Jannard Avery were on the field at the same time. That was interesting.
All right, so let's get to linebackers. Jannard Avery, and I was told this when the Eagles traded for him. While he'd be better in a 34 front now that as a stand-up outside linebacker, not playing on the ball like he is here, because they play a lot of 5-2 front, and they played in this game in particular a little bit of the defense that the Texans ran against the Patriots, which is called a diamond. When they beat the Patriots in the playoffs, I think they went it's like a 5-man front where they did not show this on tape before. If they have, they've done very little. And they got to him. They didn't know what, because it was an unscattered look. And Avery, he's got incredible lower body strength. He's built like a fire hydrant. And he's only 6'1". He barely. You and I saw him in the locker room a couple years ago. I remember running into the locker room and I go, "Do you see how small he is? I think I might be taller than this guy."
Yeah,
but he's stocky, and he lit up. Keith Ishmael, the third string center, is playing.
Mm-hmm.
He lit that dude up with a punch, and he just went in and he got Heineke. It might have been on that play. He just, oh my goodness, man. You know what's interesting? We had heard pretty strongly that when this staff came in, they really wanted Avery. Like, they really liked him. And I'm thinking, is this the right scheme for him? Well, apparently they were right. He's had a very quiet, nice season. He's done some good things.
I guess. I don't know. I mean, I feel like he's more of a player who flashes once every 3 or 4 weeks, although he's had 2 good weeks here in a row. But I don't know.
He plays the run.
He does play the run better than I thought, but he's not really a run defender. He's just an extra man on the line that redirects it's not like he's got a billion tackles in run defense. He's just kind of a makes the running back reroute because he sets an edge. So, I mean, he's a good player. He's a good athlete. I don't know. I still think as a blitzer somewhere in a 3-4 is probably where he's going to best find his work. But
it's a stand as an outside linebacker. Yes. Yeah. 34, but yeah. They're using him as the guy to blow. Let's say it's a stunt. He might be the guy who whatever space is created, he goes in there.
Right. That's a good role for him.
Right. He's done a good job in what they're asking him to do. He's not a high stats guy.
Right.
But he does stuff that's not in this particular thing that they asked him to do. They pulled out some stuff they'd not shown on tape before.
Mm-hmm.
And I was told it was more of like what the Texans did, that they did some stuff to Belichick in the 17 playoffs. Ironically, it was Bill O'Brien, but I don't know, O'Brien's an offensive coach, but they pulled out some stuff they had not shown before. And that's what, by the way, that's what, we saw, you and I saw some stuff in training camp where we were super excited. And I think they're starting to do some of that stuff. As you mentioned earlier here, the post-snap disguise. It's not pre-snap, it's post-snap disguise where, oh, wow, they haven't done that before. Okay. This is the stuff you and I were seeing where we didn't write it down, but we were like, wow, this is really interesting. We didn't see this in OTAs. And it was hard to know because this is all new to us. And he's pulling some stuff out of his bag of tricks. But I just wish they would get more turnovers. Maybe they'll come here. Because if you're doing a lot of stuff that the offensive linemen haven't seen or the play callers haven't seen, eventually it's going to come. But they're not a super high pressure defense. But man, they're bringing it now. They're really doing some cool stuff.
Yeah. All right, let's finish it off. Anything in the secondary? Yep. I mean, I felt Maddox played well. Even Anthony Harris, I thought, had a pretty good game.
Had a good game.
Guy.
Yes, he did.
Every once in a while you mention his name, not consistently, but in this game certainly.
Yeah, the first half there was too much space and they were not getting enough pressure. They just didn't have a good first half. But I remember saying to you, like, they're really lucky here to be down 16-7. I didn't think they'd turn it around. But, boy, they executed better. They were getting to Heineke. Heineke sometimes, I was told, looked confused, which is not like him. And they started getting more pressure on him. Mm-hmm. And he was throwing the ball up. They should have had – they only had the one pick, obviously, to end the game. But they should have had some picks. And here's what I'll say about Jonathan Gannon. I'm still not there with him, but he's trusting his players more. It's probably the best way to say it. He's giving them more responsibility, more stuff to do post snap, and they're executing better. And that's why their defense. And I know that they're playing. Well, Heineke's one of the best quarterbacks they played in the second half. By the way, he had a great first half, but you got to give him credit. They were resilient again, and they did a great job closing.
Awesome. All right. Next podcast, we will preview the backup bowl. We'll know who's playing, who's not playing. It'll be an interesting one. We'll get into the game. We'll probably get into a little bit of a playoff outlook as well at that point. Certainly talk about the injuries and the COVID list. So look forward to that. That'll drop Friday morning. That's going to do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles Intel. Big thanks, of course, to Hunter Brody, our producer. You can check out his work on YouTube. His channel is called Sports Talk with Broads. His website, broadsmedia.com. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the bird.